The definition of cadence is the rhythm or flow of sounds, words, or movement. Within the co-parenting relationship, cadence provides safety and stability, not only for you, but for your child or children. Okay. I am Dr. Jerry Johnson. I am the creator of Common Sense Co-Parenting, and welcome to our episode today, where we are going to be talking about cadence within the co-parenting relationship. I am here to empower all co-parents to navigate the complexities of co-parenting with clarity, compassion, and collaboration to ensure a nurturing environment that centers on the well-being of the child or children above all else. If you have never attended one of my episodes, welcome. I hope tonight that you enjoyed this episode. And if you have, you know that I have a theme for every co-parenting, effective co-parenting characteristic within our Common Sense Co-Parenting framework. Today, the theme is, oh, I want to dance with somebody. And the reason that we have that theme is because if you are a person that dances, you know how important it is when you are dancing with someone for your cadence and your rhythm just to be together and right. Okay? There is nothing like a great dancer with you. Okay? You know that in that dancing relationship, whether you have just met the person or not, the rhythm that they have, the movement that they have in cooperation with yours is very important. Some good things can come out of that, right? So in our previous episode, we talked about strategies for cadence within your co-parenting relationship. So today we're going to dig into some actions that go along with those strategies. Let me define this again for people who haven't been here. Our strategy is basically our plan or our framework that we are creating for what we're going to do within our co-parenting relationship. So our strategies help us create the framework. Our actions then are aligned to our strategies. So our actions help us with getting to successful implementation of the strategies that we've created with our framework. And you'll kind of get it once I get into it, because I'm going to mention the strategy and then I'm going to mention the action, right? So let's start with number one. These are not in order necessarily from the last episode. So I'm just going to do them kind of like they kind of come to my head, because I don't script out all of my episodes or anything like that. So I'm just kind of like talking off the cuff. So the first strategy that I wanted to talk about was organization, because organization is a must in your co-parenting relationship. Now, there's 3 areas that you're going to need to organize in. That's for your child. You're going to need organization for yourself, and then for your co-parenting relationship. And we talked about this in the last episode, creating this strategy for yourself. Now, let's talk about a few actions that you can take within creating organization for yourself and your co-parenting relationship. The first one would be to figure out what your frequency of communication is going to be with your co-parent. And what frequency of communication, your co-parent is going to have with the child. That can be in a form of, what is your visitation schedule going to look like? That needs to definitely be ironed out. And then also, how often do you need to speak with your co-parent about things that are going on with your child? Now, this is going to be very different for everybody, depending on your relationship with your co-parent. Some people aren't comfortable talking with their co-parent, on a weekly basis. Maybe they schedule, every Friday. If they get picked up on Fridays, right? You can do a quick chat together and just kind of recap the week of what's been going on, what is coming up, or what have you on the pickup or drop off. Some people do it, once a month. We're going to have a powwow about, our coffee chat. We go have coffee. We're going to chat about what's going on for the month or whatever, because maybe during the month it's busy and we really can't talk. So we schedule once a month. You need to set these expectations for yourself within this organization as a must strategy, simply because if you don't set it, you're going to forget it. I mean, that's the easiest way that I can say it. Not saying that it's going to be so stringent that if you miss one conversation a month or something like that, everything's just going to go off the rails. That's not the case. But it's just like anything else. Working out, for example, you got to build that muscle. You got to build, it has to be consistency within the communication before you can get to, oh, we don't need to talk this week, or we don't need to talk this month, or what have you. That consistency, just like in your workouts when you're working out for your health, that consistency with your co-parent needs to be the same. Where there is inconsistency in communication, you will see inconsistency in a lot of other things in your co-parenting relationship, as well as it will trickle down to either the behavior in your child or what it is they're doing or not doing, or, things like that as they're moving from household to household. Once again, that consistency, just like the organization piece, because it provides a framework, it provides a process, it provides a system for your child to work within as well. It's going to provide safety for your child. And that's what we're focused on, right? So your child knowing mom and dad are going to be talking weekly. So, I don't think I won't do nothing during the week, at school or what have you, whatever they're talking about, it's all about me. I know they're talking all about me. So I don't want them to talk about me. I mean, if your child knows that you talk to that co-parent about them on the drop off or the pickup, and you all the, if something's not going right, that other co-parent's gonna take it and be like, okay, you're not doing X, Y, and Z this weekend because you couldn't get your homework done this week. Your mama said you didn't do what you're supposed to do this week. So we're not doing what I said we were going to do this weekend. Like, you got to finish whatever you need to finish, or this is your punishment. So this communication and this organization piece is huge, simply because your child is going to see that you all are working together on a consistent basis for their health, number one, for their growth. So let's make sure that we get ourselves organized, because that goes across and affects everything. So everything affects everything. Keep that in your mind. If you are not organized for your child, yourself, and your co-parenting relationship, it's going to be a consistent feeling like you're behind the 8 ball on everything, feeling like you're not up on what's going on anywhere, and then your life is going to feel out of order. So try to create that structure of when you're going to communicate with the co-parent about what's going on with your child. And also, this is number 2 within the organization, action you can do. Get yourself organized for your child. Okay, we're going to talk about that in one of these other strategies that we're going to hit on it too. But when I say get yourself organized for your child, I mean, what are their activities and things like that that are going on in the month that need to be talked about? What's your activities that need to be done either when your child is with you or not with you, so that the other co-parent knows she's got something to do, or he's got something to do, or he's going to be on vacation when our son is not with him, so I can't call him that week or something like that. These are, when we talk about organization, if you don't, and I'm sure you've heard this before, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And getting this muscle built for consistency in this area is really going to help you. Now, in this organization is a must strategy, this does not include excessive and inappropriate communication. All right? When we're talking about frequency of communication, this does not mean that you're communicating, trying to call your co-parent every day, like y'all in a relationship and all that type of stuff. No. Inappropriate communication means that anything outside of talking about your child. When you start off with these strategies, focus. We talked about this in our first characteristic regarding communication. Keep the focus on the child. Nothing else outside of that. There's so many things that go along with your child and what it is you have to do for them. Don't add any other mess to it. And if you need to circle back to your co-parent and say, we need to, let's circle back now because we need to focus on what's going on with our child. If this does not directly affect our child in this moment, in this conversation, then we can table that and we can come back to that later. All right. So the first strategy was organization is a must. Get yourself organized for your child, yourself, and the co-parenting relationship by figuring out what the frequency of communication is going to be, how your weekends look, how your weekdays look, what's the expectations that you all have, what is the structure going to be for visitation. Those are all some things that you can add into this organization is a must with these actions that you can do. Okay. All right. So let's go on to the next strategy. The next strategy is what doesn't get calendared doesn't get done. Now, some of us are adverse to possibly using technology to organize ourselves, but we will use technology for everything else. You hop on Instagram, you hop on TikTok, you hop on, LinkedIn, you hop on all these apps, Snapchat, WhatsApp. You're using all this stuff on your phone, but you're not using anything to organize yourself for your co-parenting relationship. So the second strategy, what we were trying to do for our framework to set ourselves up, was what doesn't get calendared doesn't get done. And this falls right under organization is a must. Choose a platform. Choose a platform for, this is an action. Choose a platform for how you're going to communicate with your co-parent. Phone calls don't always work. Phone calls in emergencies should, but we can't always call our co-parent. Do you have an effective way of communicating with them through text? And text, sometimes that causes problems because people receive it the way they want to receive it with no context. You're not on the phone. All right. So you can use Google Calendar. There are plenty of co-parenting apps. There's two that I've heard about consistently, Our Family Wizard and Cozy. It's C-O-Z-I. Okay. I don't know if they're necessary. You would necessarily have to pay for them. You might have to have a monthly fee, and that's something that you and your co-parent can talk about. It's a minimal fee, I'm sure, if it is. So make sure you choose a platform. Even if it's Google Calendar, you can share a calendar with and you can name it co-parenting calendar. You can share a calendar with your co-parent and just start adding things to the calendar so it will automatically go to theirs and it's on your phone. Even if you add things in your desktop, right to your phone if you don't use Google Calendar. Okay? So choose a platform for how this is going to work as you're organizing. How am I going to let them know when parent-teacher conferences are, or, pick up and drop off? Maybe it changes from week to week, what days we're, going to have. You can put that in the calendar. Everything that you need to know and they need to know, you can just add to the calendar. It pops up. All they have to do is accept it. That's it. Or they can say maybe. And at least you'll know on your phone that they don't know if they can do it that day or go that day or attend the concert, at school or what have you. So choose a platform. This is the first action. Choose the content. This is the second action. You do not have to share everything. All right. What is going to be shared and what's not going to be shared. Even if you have just a paper calendar, you can go and find a calendar template on your computer and add everything, pick up, drop off, school events, if they have practices for things, games, if they're athletes, put all that on a paper calendar, print it out for your co-parent and give it to them every month if you want. You're going to find a way to communicate with your co-parent if you want to. If you want to. We find a way to do everything else. And if this is important to you, you're going to find a way to do it. All right? So choose a platform. Choose your content. What are you going to share? What are you not going to share? You guys can talk about this or you can choose on your own. And then choose the timing. I'm talking about monthly because it was easier for me to just lay out everything for the month that I knew and then add to later, right? Some things are going to be consistent when they're younger. As they get older and they start getting involved in all of these extracurriculars and clubs and all this type of stuff at their school, or if they are on a select team or something like that, the games become more, they get to traveling, all that type of stuff. Yeah, I know about this life. So the timing, are you going to put things on the calendar monthly? Are you going to put things on there weekly because you guys chose to talk weekly? Like whatever timing you have of communication might be good to do the same timing for the calendar. My ex-husband and I got to a point where we only talk maybe once a month. Unless something was going on or something happened or schedules needed to change. We didn't really even need to talk throughout the month because the calendar was set. We were able to move things about on the calendar if need be. And that's just how we roll. So 3 actions for what doesn't get calendared, doesn't get done. Choose a platform. You want it on your phone, like an app or something like that. A calendar, Google Calendar, Our Family, Wizard, Cozy. You can do a paper calendar. Choose a platform. Choose your content, what's going to be shared and what's not. And choose your timing for when is this information going to be shared. And it should be in a timely manner. Now, what these actions do not include and I'm gonna say what they include and what they don't include, is using your child as the messenger. Well, where they do that at? Don't use your child to send a message to your co-parent. Yes, we may say, well, my child's a teenager, or what have you. That don't matter. The problem is going to come in if they forget to give that message to your co-parent. If they give your co-parent an incomplete message because they really didn't understand what you were saying, or they halfway forgot. Or if they just give the message in such a way that you did not intend it to be. All three things can happen. All three. So I would suggest that you do not use your child as a messenger. I suggest you talk to your co-parent as you are supposed to. This also does not include you delaying communication or ignoring communication with your co-parent. This is not fair. And I know sometimes when we're in our feelings, it is not easy to speak to our co-parent. However, this is where we are the adults. And we have to step outside of ourselves to think about this information is for my child. And it's about our child. So it's important that they know this. Let me say this again. How can I say this? Much of our communication and our interaction with our co-parent is going to require us to step outside of ourselves. I hate to say it, but it's just true. And we're going to talk about that with another strategy too. We are the adults. We are the people who chose to have the child with this person that we now have to have a relationship with in the best interest of our child. So we want it to be the healthiest, most effective relationship that it possibly can be. So what doesn't get calendared, doesn't get done, does not include using your child as a messenger, delaying communication and or ignoring communication with your co-parent. All right. The next strategy we talked about was scheduling around your child's needs. Now, we just talked about calendaring things, choosing a platform, choosing the content, choosing the timing. We need to focus on scheduling, if at all possible, because some people's schedules are different. Everybody life is just different for everybody. There's nuances to everything. So as much as you possibly can, I would say, please schedule around your child's needs. That means some actions that you're going to need to take to get this done is the first one, maybe knowing your child's schedule. When we drop them off at school, we don't have to worry about their schedule, right? The school has created their schedule for them. And I know because I was the principal, I had to do the school schedule, right? Okay, so when they're with us, should be the same thing. Same thing. We should know their schedule for the weekdays. What does their morning look like? What time are they getting up? What does their evening look like? What time are they going to bed? When we get home from school, what is the first thing that you do? I said in the last episode, my daughter knew you go get snack, something to eat, something to drink, whatever. You go either sit down at the kitchen table or the living room table or your room, and your homework is the first thing that you do. There's nothing that comes before that. After that is when you eat dinner. And then if you have time after eating dinner, you have the rest of the night until it's bedtime, which usually was around 8 or 9 o'clock because we had early mornings. So you have time and then to do whatever. And typically my daughter's listening to music, reading a book or something like that. There was no TV or video games and all that stuff because it gets your brain going again and then you can't go to sleep. And that's another thing, like healthy habits. Know what your child's schedule is during the week, and then what does their weekend look like? Are they doing play dates? Are they doing some school events? Are they doing some, some sporting events because they're on teams? Know their doctor's appointment schedules. Doctor's appointments are very important, but not just medical, like dental stuff that they may do. If they go to a chiropractor as they get older, or a stretching place or a sports team, athletic field. So know your child's schedule and try your best to schedule your things around that. That's number one action for scheduling around your child's needs. Number two, your child needs to see the other co-parent. So that's going to require you to get to know your co-parents framework. Get to know their schedule. I'm not saying you need to dig into their life about what it is they're doing every day or what they do after work or before work or, whatever. I'm saying talk to your co-parent about what their schedule is, especially when you're talking about visitation, and make the visitation something that is consistent based on both of you all's schedules. Just like the communication. And I've said this before as an example. My ex-husband and I laid out 2 school weeks and 2 school weeks for my daughter. On the first 2 school weeks of the month, Monday through Friday, she was with the same parent. The first 2 weekends of the month, she was with the other parent. So she never went 7 days without being with both parents. And then that second weekend of the month, we would flip. So she would be with her father from that Friday when he picked her up to that next Friday when he dropped her off. And then I would pick her up that Friday. And we would go into his school weeks and opposite weekends. So you all need to figure out what your schedule is going to be and try to keep it consistent. I would not recommend switching out drop off and pick up midweek if your child is in school. Now you can do what you want to do. I'm just going to tell you what I've seen as an educator and as a parent. If your child is in school and you are trying to do drop off pick up during the middle of the week, that throws their cadence off with their homework. It throws their cadence off with their environments. It throws their cadence off with their expectations and structure. My daughter will tell you that she lived, and she's gonna be on my podcast this summer. My daughter will tell you that she lived in two different, totally different households. And when she had to go to her father's house on either the weekends or the school weeks, she had to shift her brain, like literally shift her brain to a different environment, different expectations, all of that. And that's her telling me that when she was a teenager, like in high school, when she came to live with me full time, her last 2 years of high school, she told me that. So think about your child's, once again, your child's needs and schedule around those. Be consistent with the visitation. Even if you are consistent for 6 weeks with doing what you need to do with visitation, and one weekend, one parent, just can't do it, that's okay. The child will pick up right where you guys left off when you get back on that consistent schedule. Once again, just like going to the gym, you got to build this muscle. All right. So get to know your co-parents framework. What's going on in their life? What's their schedule like? Is it going to be consistent? Is it going to be all over the place? How are we going to do this consistently for our child? And then this does not include, I'm going to say it again, being disrespectful to your co-parent and digging into whatever is going on in their life. That is inappropriate. If it does not affect what's going on with your child, it is none of your business. I'm going to give you an example, since some of us may not understand what I'm saying. If they are dating somebody, you hear about them dating somebody or what have you, and that person is not interacting with your child, that is none of your business. And your child will tell you if they're meeting somebody else or if somebody else is around. Your child will tell you. But it is inappropriate and disrespectful for you to ask your co-parent about their framework or their schedule or what have you, and start going into, well, you dating somebody, you went on vacation with somebody, so you couldn't see our child and this, and that. If that's not their time with your child, that's none of your business. I'm just going to say it. We have to learn to stay in our lane. And our lane is our child or our children. That's what that is. And I know sometimes it's hard because of the circumstances. Maybe, it didn't work out because somebody else was in the picture or somebody did something, they cheated, whatever. Okay, that's fine. It does not negate the fact that your child still needs both parents to communicate and to behave respectfully to each other. They did what they did. Let it go. You did what you did. Let it go. They don't want you. Let it go. And this goes for both sides. We got to stop. When somebody does not want you, why would you want them? I don't want nobody or nothing that doesn't want me. It is not for me. So, scheduling around your child's needs means that you are knowing your child's schedule. That means doctor appointments, play dates, school events, all of that. What's happening before school, what's happening after school. You are setting a framework and a structure for what is happening on weekends, all that type of stuff. And it also means that you need to get to know your co-parents framework in their schedule so that you all can be consistent in visitation and consistent in what it is you need to do for your child or children. Once again, does not include being disrespectful or inappropriate by digging into your co-parent's life. If it is a safety issue, I always say this because I am big on physical, mental, emotional safety. If it is a safety issue for your child, then by all means, dig and do what you have to do in the court system or the authorities or whatever. If it has anything to do with the safety of your child. But if it does not, let it go. That's my advice. Okay. So we have gone over 3 strategies so far. Organization is a must. We talked about some actions to go along with that. What doesn't get calendared doesn't get done. We talked about some actions to go along with that. And we talked about scheduling around your child's needs. Our last strategy and setting ourselves up for this framework of cadence, the rhythm that we are going to create within our co-parenting relationship. The last strategy is for you to get comfortable with inconvenience. We're parents. My daughter will be 23 this month. Recently, I had to be inconvenienced and take a trip, 4-hour drive to where she was, where she lives, because she lost a car key. And nobody where she was had her other car key. I had her spare car key. So trying to get it to her overnight was going to be a hassle because I've tried sending her something overnight before. So I decided to just hop in the car, drive 4 hours, give her spare key, drive back 4 hours. That's an 8-hour drive day. There and back. Was it inconvenience? Absolutely. It was an inconvenience. But you know what? The way that my life is set up and the way that God has my life set up right now, I was able to do that. And I took the drive as a time to clear my mind, think about some things, listen to good music, even though I was out here on this road with these crazy people. So my daughter is an adult child. And I have gotten to the point where I'm okay. I'm comfortable with the uncomfortable. In order for her to be safe, in order for her to have her car, in order for her to do the things that she needed to do, that's what I needed to do. So in order for you to set up a cadence with your co-parent and understand that crap happens, okay? On both ends, we have to give grace. It is going to be very important for you to understand and get comfortable with inconvenience. Everything's not going to happen when you want it to happen. Now, if you just can't do something at the time, then you can't do it. That's okay. If they can't do something at the time because it is not physically or, as far as their schedule possible, then you need to give grace on that because one day that's going to happen to you. I'm just saying. If you want to think, oh, that's never going to happen to me. I can show you better than I could tell you. Okay. So within getting comfortable with inconvenience, there are some actions that you need to take. Your mindset is going to be key in this. And I've talked about a couple of things already. So we have to learn to go with the flow, but with structure. And what I mean by that is When you go with the flow with structure, you have already set all of these other strategies in place that I talked about. You have organized yourself, your kid, your relationship. You have calendared things. Okay. You have scheduled around your child's needs, and you still had something happen. So go with it. And that's what I did. Daughter called me in the evening. Mom, I lost my key. You know, I got to go to work tomorrow. Da, 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 da. Okay. I got up 4 o'clock in the morning, drove, was there by 8, gave her what she needed to get so she could get to work and all of that and get home. Came right back. So I went with the flow. Even though I had, you know, my daughter is an adult, but I still have, you know, things that I scheduled with her father for her to do, flights or whatever, you know, if she wants to go back home and visit, all this type of stuff. There's still a structure to our co-parenting relationship, even though she's an adult. So I went with the flow, did what I had to do, but we still have a structure around that. And I called him to tell him what was going on, because he was the one that got her the car. Even though I have the spare key, it still was very important for me to let him know what was going on with the car and things like that, just in case he wanted to give some feedback. And I told him, I'm going in the morning, give her what she needs. I'll grab whatever, and then we'll take care of the rest after that. Yeah, still communicating at 23. Yeah, y'all, it don't stop. It doesn't stop. And I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. So that's one thing you need to do. Go with the flow, with the structure. Another thing is you need to create a peaceful environment. Now, some people love living in drama. I'm just gonna be honest. Some people love drama because that's all they know. So to be peaceful is just, it makes them uncomfortable. Some of us, you know, have had traumas in our lives. So we know that trauma, but we don't know the peace part. And I'm going to give an example of students, you know, in a school that is peaceful without all the fighting, and, you know, in a school that has structure, has expectations, things like that, but with love and grace and all of that. I've seen it happen. Students who are used to chaos find peace to be very uncomfortable, because the chaos is their norm. So for those of us who are adults that have not come from peaceful environments, which, you know, it might be a lot of people, it might not be, I don't know. But for those of us who are adults that have grown up in a lot of drama, trauma, noise, you know, loud voices, ambulance, you know, gunshot, all this type of stuff. Peace is going to be very uncomfortable for you when you have children, because you're going to take that into your relationship with your child. And it's going to be very difficult or uncomfortable for you to create a peaceful environment. However, it's not like it can't happen. That's why mindset is key. You have overcome so many things in your life already. You cannot tell me that you cannot create a peaceful environment for yourself if you want to. The environment, the peaceful environment, does not start with things around you. It starts in your mind. So if you want to do it, you're going to be able to do it. We figure out other ways to do everything else. So when I say you need to create a peaceful environment, you start with your mindset, you start with your diet, you start with your nutrition, you start with working out if you need to. Then you work on the external things like your home. There's a lot of people who live good on less. You don't need a bunch of crap in your home. Your child does not need video games and all this other stuff to distract them. They can read, they can play board games, they can go outside. Like, there's different things that your child can do. I have seen 3 and 4-year-olds bypass the playground equipment and go play in a pile of dirt. Get some water, make some mud. With the mud, they making stuff on the ground, like sidewalk chalk, all types of stuff that, I mean, it stimulates our minds and our bodies rather than us being on video games or technology all day that is really not stimulating to our brains. It's really not growing our dendrites. And the things that are on video games now are so violent and all this type of stuff. But, you know, do what you do as a parent. But what I'm saying is creating the peaceful environment starts in your mind, starts with your body, and then you move to your external environment. And this is for your child as well. Because whatever you do, they're watching. Whatever you don't do, they're watching. However you respond to people, they're watching. Hate and all of that is taught. We know that. So when they come out and they come to you, they're a blank slate. It's what you write on there and imprint on them that's going to be the determination of what it is they're going to be and grow into. So create that peaceful environment. It starts in your mind first. That's why mindset is key. So that's 2 actions for it's going to be inconvenient. But if you create that peaceful environment within your mind and in your external environment, wherever you live, then the inconvenience is not going to bother you. All right. The third action is to double book any appointments that you might have for your child. And I say double book, that means that if you book a doctor's appointment, for example, I always, at the same time that I book the doctor's appointment, I would ask, when would she need a follow-up appointment? Because I want to make sure that I book that too. Things happen. So if you don't make one appointment, then hopefully you'll be able to make the other. And if you don't need that one, all you have to do is cancel that one when you go to the original appointment. So it's always good to create backups. In any case that you can, a backup is a good thing. Another example, parent-teacher conferences. I would schedule one conference with the teacher, and then I would say, can I set a backup appointment just in case I can't make that one? Because I knew my schedule was all over the place as a principal and as a teacher. You know, it's like we never knew if we were actually going to be able to leave at the time we needed to leave those days. So I would make 2 appointments with the teacher. I would ask if I can do a backup appointment because I want to make sure that I make one of them. So when I say double book appointments, just in case, it's a good idea to do that because even if you make it to the first appointment, you can cancel the second one. So that's how you can plan for possible inconvenience. And even if you had a second one, maybe your co-parent wants to take your child to an appointment, then you could give them that appointment. It works like that. All right. The last action, I'm going to kind of put two things together because I know this is very important for a lot of parents, and we don't do this enough for ourselves. I'm going to tell y'all, I didn't like working out was my self-care for a long time. And I made sure I got up and went to 5 a.m. workouts almost every morning of the work week because I needed that stress relief. That was my self-care. But whatever self-care you need, what I would say is plan for your self-care and plan for fun things if you need to, especially when your child is not with you. But if you have a schedule that allows for you to have self-care even when your child is with you, do that. The importance of doing that is that you're showing your child that there are times where you are going to have to tell people no, tell the job no, bypass doing all this other stuff that you might want to do for something that you need to do for yourself. We all need a time for decompression, a time for reflection, a time to just be able to relax. Even if it's only an hour facial that you get once a month, okay? Because you have a membership somewhere. That is one thing that I ended up paying for as well, was a membership. I think it was $59 a month or something to a spa. Because I like to go get facials or I like to get a massage. And that $60 was in my budget every month because I knew I needed the self-care in addition to my working out like I used to, and I had to pay for that too. But automating and organizing yourself, once again, this is an organization piece for putting time in for your self-care and you're having fun or relaxing. Calendar that. There's nothing wrong with putting or blocking time on your calendar and discussing that with your co-parent. If you're going to take a vacation, I would tell my ex-husband months in advance, I'm taking a vacation in December, around my birthday or what have you. I know it doesn't look like, it falls on your week, but can you, watch her or have her this week instead of that week in December? Because I really want to take a birthday trip. That's a quick conversation about how we can change the schedule around. You know what? I used to look forward to those vacations where I might just go on vacation with a girlfriend or something like that, or celebrating something. And the other co-parent did not mind. Totally understood. There is nothing wrong with talking to them about things like that. It is directly affecting your child. Now, even if they say, well, no, I was supposed to go on vacation that weekend or whatever, then that gives you an opportunity, if you're talking to them well advanced, to see if somebody else can watch your child. And it lets you know if you need to maybe reschedule for the week before or week after your co-parent gets back, so both of you guys can get your self-care. This is self-care. It's not selfish. It's not. I'm sure you've heard that before. However, sometimes we get selfish because our co-parent is getting self-care, and that is not what we are doing. That does not, it will be inconvenient. It does not include that. We do not get selfish about them taking care of themselves as well. We want to model giving them grace just like we want them to give us grace. Okay? So your last action for things being inconvenient is making sure that you schedule that time for yourself when you're talking to your co-parent about the schedule too. It's easier to get your self-care in when your child is not with you, even if it's a Monday night. Self-care ain't got no days of the week. Self-care knows nothing about days of the week or times of the day. If your self-care, like my self-care, took place at 5:00 a.m. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then I would go work out Saturday mornings. Okay. 5 a.m. was my self-care on those days. And sometimes I might go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So organizing yourself, very important for the cadence that you want to set in your co-parenting relationship. All right, guys. I think I'm finished. I think you guys have probably heard me talk enough. So if you have any questions or comments, please put your questions or comments in the comment box below. If you liked anything on this episode today, please like it and subscribe to the channel so that you see when my next few episodes come out. Once again, we're going to review real quick. We were talking about cadence. The rhythm of your co-parenting relationship is extremely important. We went and reviewed the strategies that I talked about in the last episode. If you want to listen to those in depth, you can go back to episode 9 for that. And today I also delved into some actions that you can take to help with the success of those strategies. All right, so I will see you guys on the next episode. And as I always say, you guys go out there and co-parent with purpose. I'll see you later.